This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
I want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Team Top Cat Sales. Are you looking for team apparel for your high school, your club sports team, or corporation? Look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak, between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan QB John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the highest quality and best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going to topcatteamsales.com. That's topcatteamsales.com. Also, follow Top Cat on Twitter at Team Top Cat.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Detroit, what's happening? Thank you for downloading another episode on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I am the Doc, John Macaroon.
He was really nice, so I could not say no.
Joining me, dragging ass with a busy ass work schedule, my cousin Adam the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz?
Bada boom! Realest guys in the room. How you doing?
How you doing? I don't ever want to hear that radio is easy work. Shit ain't easy, bro.
No kidding.
I'm working like a 15-hour shift today. I didn't even know they made those. This is like the equivalent of sitting there doing marathon running. Got to go do a morning show, got to do a midday show, got to do a daytime drive show, and then like 2 hours of like a post-daytime drive show. This is insane, man. Like I told you before when we were sitting here just rapping before we started this, I've had 20 ounces of coffee. I've had a king-size Twix, which is 4 Twix bars. I've had a bag of Skittles. I'm like going to have a diabetic seizure and a heart attack. I'm sucking down some hot tea. It is bad. I'm sucking down some hot tea right now to keep these vocal cords lubed up. And the only thing I'm missing right now, man, is a stripper in a line of crack here so I can take a bump off her or something. I mean, it just... Dude, it's going to be a rough day for me. Let's hope I don't fall asleep on the mic.
No, don't worry. We got a lot to talk about, and you said it, and for people that listen to this podcast and people that are trying to do work in radio or broadcast, you got to grind. That's the thing. A lot of people have 2 and 3 jobs. A lot of people have a lot of different avenues now in media to get information out there, whether it be through blogs, podcasting, websites, getting on the radio. You just got to keep grinding, and one of these days, I know it's going to pay off for sure. There's no doubt about it. You'll be successful because you put in the work, you put in the hours. You know, now you just got to wait for the payoff. That's it. Patience, man. Patience is key. You got to remember, if you listen to some of the guys now around town on the radio, a lot of them are in their mid-40s, and they've been doing it a long time, and you just got to keep grinding and see where it goes.
You don't grind, you don't shine. That's the motto I live by, so we just get to grinding.
You know, I love doing this podcast. We just free flow it. And I was just telling you before we got on the air that let's just free flow this podcast. And I just live produced it. Messaged our girl Neena Kalasho, and she's like, "Let's do it." You know, she's been a little bit busy. She's like, "Okay."
Blowing you up. She works like 15 jobs. You were just talking about how people in the media got to work like 27 jobs.
But
it's like we run around like Jamaicans, man.
But with a guy with a big ego, I like to think that when I email, people are like, "Oh." It's not through me, like, oh, John Macaroon, the producer of the Detroit Sports Podcast, emailed me. But they start researching us. Oh, big Twitter following, nice podcast network, sponsors. It's not just a rinky-dink operation. So we got now booked a phone interview with Neena, 1:30 later on today. So it'll be fun. Catch in with her, see what she's doing over there at TV20 Detroit. And Adam found very interesting individuals who are doing a 26-hour hockey game for charity. Real interesting cats. When Adam brought that to me, I was like, really? What's going on with that? And he told me all about it. It's a charitable event. I like the fact that with our podcast and our reach there, we can also help out charities. I'm interested to chat with Walt Barnes from that organization and seeing what that's all about, and maybe you and I will go check it out. I don't think I can last for 26 hours, but hey, anything for charity, and especially a sport that you love, hockey, is very awesome.
Yeah, Michigan 26, this is going to be a big deal. We'll get some more information and more insight on what they're raising money for and how it's going to get put to a good use. Walt Barnes will come on and kind of break it all down for us. So this is going to be it's going to be a real interesting podcast here, especially with Neena joining the show now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's what I love about the podcast is we can just plan it out and then just free flow it and have a good time. It's one of the better hours of my week, getting a chance to break sports down with you. But we just talked about radio a little bit. The big news big news around town. Dave Shore, an individual who was kind enough to come in here, tell us a little bit about his story and what his thoughts were about Detroit Sports 105.1. Out. He was let go on Monday. And it's very interesting that our podcast has lasted through 2 program directors at Detroit Sports 105.1. And I was just, like I said, we're fans of both stations. Like I said, we got connections, you being an intern previously at 97.1 The Ticket. Jason Jarvie works at Detroit Sports 105.1. So you and I are big radio fans. We love and support both stations here in town. But it's super tough in radio, man, to make it. And, as fans of radio, it's very fascinating to think that can a second station really succeed here in this market? I would think so. But right now, it's a little challenging over there at 105.1.
Yeah, you would think that, having 2 powerhouses that talk sports radio in Detroit, it would succeed no problem. But for some reason, 105.1 has struggled to gain a footing. I don't know. I really don't understand why. It does seem like every time you kind of turn around, though, they are doing a little bit of a format flip, whether it be with their hosts or the way that they are producing their content. So that might have something. I mean, if you're constantly changing what you're doing, it's going to be hard for people to tune in and kind of get what they're looking for. So that might have something to do with it. Dave was nice enough to come in and sit with us and kind of give us a little background on what he had going on. And we welcomed him to the city, and it just it looks like it wasn't a good fit. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting what's going to happen with 105.1.
Now, just in general, your sports radio habit, you flip through both from time to time. I know there's so much competition with podcasts, with Sirius. I mean, you've got me into Sirius. I was a fan when Howard Stern came on, but the subscription-based model for me, it just wasn't at the time feasible for me to pay, $125 a year for, satellite radio when you can get it for free. But, now that, you lease cars and it comes with it, it's more accessible and you see all the different options, out there in the broadcast world. But, for me, I listen to a lot of the different shows and things like that. From my personal preference, I'm not a fan of a one-man show or a three-man show. A one-man show, it just seems like a guy just bloviating on and on and on. I do like the fact, my favorite kind of sports radio show for me personally is just a show with 2 guys going back and forth, giving us great knowledge, a la like a Ryan and Rico. They do a great show. And I like that. When there's a show on with one guy, it can be like a little bit, a lot of words, a lot of things that just, it's not appealing to me. And then the 3-man booth is just hard because, a lot of people who do radio have a lot of egos and they want to get mic time. And I don't like when there's 2 and 3 guys trying to get in at the same time. So that's just my preference. I listen to all the shows. It's just for me personally, the 3-man show is super, super tough.
It is hard because, like you said, everybody's trying to bite the mic there. So you're stepping on each other, and it really does seem like one person ends up dominating the entire conversation while the other 2 are just kind of left on the outside looking in. When you have a 2-man show, you can both kind of go back and forth. You can interact with each other. Generally, with a 3-man booth, it's going to usually end up 2 versus 1. So then the 1 is getting drowned out. It just becomes very difficult. Yeah. And a 1-man show, it's just, I tried doing it. It's very hard. I know you do the weekend, the top 5 stories for the weekend, and I give you props, man. It's a very hard thing to do, to sit there and carry a show all by yourself, and you just kind of talk and talk and talk because it feels like you're talking to no one sometimes, You're talking to everybody out there who's listening, but when it's just you and a mic, it's a very lonely place.
Yeah, and in terms of what's going on with the 2 stations, I mean, it's just not fair because 97.1 has the sports. They had previously had the Lions. Now they got the Tigers, and a lot of people listen for that exclusively. And it seems like, when you have a 10-year head start, it just seems like you're fighting an uphill battle. I do feel like there is room for 2 sports stations in town, but it's a fascinating thing to see how it's going to progress now with who's going to be next, who's up next, who's going to take the challenge and maybe rework some things and maybe potentially have a little bit more competition because I do believe that the quality of shows will improve once you have 2 strongly rated stations. It can only help the business when you have more competition, you have better shows, you have better quality, and but there's still, like I said, there's so many options to choose from with podcasts. Dude, they're sprinkling up all over the place here in town. There's a lot of broadcast networks, a lot of podcasting people outside of sports as well. So there's a lot of opportunities around town, and I've been peeking in, and I enjoy both. And if you're a fan of the Pistons, you can listen at 105.1. If you're a fan of the Tigers, definitely every night and such. So it'll be interesting to see how it's going to shape out going forward, because it doesn't look like, I don't think you get a chance to hire the fourth PD if this one doesn't work.
Yeah, I firmly believe that 2 sports stations can work here. But I think if you are Detroit Sports 105.1, you really have to do a critical look at what your audience wants, and you have to deliver it to them, because now you've already gone through 2 PDs.
What do you want, Jock?
You're looking at your third. You got to be able to provide. I want interesting content. I want to be entertained. It doesn't always have to center around sports. I do love the fact that 105.1 does talk more sports than 97.1, but mix in some interesting topics. Keep it fun. Keep it loose. Here's the deal, right? Your demographic is men. It's men 18 to what, 52? It's just guys. So talk a little bit about women. Talk about the Sports Illustrated bikini issue. Talk about a Victoria's Secret catalog. Talk about anything. We're guys. You can talk about pretty much anything and everything you want. It's going to be okay. It just entertain me. It's got to be entertaining. And I think sometimes they pigeonhole themselves a little bit, and you see the results when you fire 2 PDs. Now,
just quickly, in terms of personality styles, do you believe in kind of like negative ads, like with politicians and with radio stations? Like, should 105.1 attack 97.1 for that kind of content to boost themselves up or to draw controversy? A la the theory, any press is good press. But when they did it, 97.1 kind of shot back a little bit, and it could start off something, but I don't know. It's a la, what we, as a wrestling fan, a la WCW versus WWE. When WCW, what they started to do was pinching talent from WWE, and they started revealing results, because at the time, Raw was taping their shows. So they would find out about it and actually start doing stuff that was really outlandish. But it drew both of them up at the time, and it hasn't been matched since. Both stations were drawing at least 6 million. TBS, TNT, and USA were drawing 6 million viewers each during the Monday Night Wars, and they were going back and forth, and it became like an inside thing, and people were tuning in to say, hey, what's this guy going to say about this guy? Do you think that needs to take place, take shots, or just do the best you can and see what happens?
At the point that 105.1's at right now, you got to build up your listenership before you can start doing that.
Don't take shots, huh?
Yeah, it's
Keep it above board.
That's like being like the little brother and walking into your big brother's room and basically calling him out. You're going to get punched in the mouth. So why are you going to do that? Wait till you go to the gym a little bit, work out, get a little bit bigger, stronger. Yeah. And once you get a little bit bigger, stronger, hey, if you want to do it then, because everything's above, then it's all above board. You know what I'm saying? You got your section of the pie. They got their section of the pie, and let's see who can gobble up the most.
Yeah, because a lot of us that listen to radio were fans of Howard Stern, and what he did was he challenged management. He just went off the board, and anybody that he perceived to be a threat, like an Imus, like people that he felt like were a threat to his job and livelihood, he just went after in a really, obscene way and in tough ways, with phone calls, with, having people dial up Baba Booey on their lines.
But again, it was creative, and it was funny, and it entertained. It goes right back to that. You have to entertain me. Dance for me, monkey, dance. Then that's what you want. So
listen to both stations, man. Detroit Sports 105.1, 97.1. They got great content. Both. We're lucky here in Detroit, and there's some markets that have 3 stations that talk sports. I think it's a viable thing. I don't believe it's dying, a slow death like a lot of people say. You just got to find that superstar talent that can draw an audience, and we'll see what happens. Now we'll see. Definitely, you and I will be tuning in. We pay attention to a lot of stuff that goes on in radio because you're so invested as well.
Most definitely. I think in the end, both will do fine. It's just 105.1's got to go through some growing pains right now.
Growing pains. Yeah, that's fair. You know what? Speaking of growing pains, my goodness. As we're recording this, the Tigers are 15-17. They got a victory versus Washington, a much-needed victory. Almost felt like we needed to carry Brad Ausmus out on the shoulders or give him a Gatorade bath. 7-game losing streak. Panic in Detroit. A lot of people are calling for Brad Ausmus' job. A lot of people are angry, but it was a decent win. Fulmer was acceptable in the game versus Washington on Tuesday, and now the MVP matchup, Zimmerman versus Scherzer, Wednesday night. I can't wait. There are very few baseball games where you go, here we go. You got 2 aces going mano-a-mano, both guys going against their former teams. So it was an interesting week for the Detroit Tigers, and a lot of people are speculating what's going on with the club, the roster, the payroll, what's going on with Brad Ausmus. Everyone's angry. Everybody wants him gone. It was just a crazy, crazy week for the Tigers.
This team is more bipolar than me playing hockey and then somebody telling me a funny joke. They are so up and down right now. If at the beginning...
Why? It's crazy, right?
Well, here's the deal, right? This pitching staff's not what we thought it was going to be. This lineup's not what we thought it was going to be. We both agree Brad Ausmus isn't really going to help you win games. At the same time, he really shouldn't be losing games. So it's a flawed team. If at the beginning of the season I told you, hey, month and a half into the season, a month and a week into the season, we'd be tied with Kansas City, and Nick Castellanos would be having a breakout season, you'd be feeling pretty good about where we'd be at, right? Now take into account that Miguel Cabrera is not hitting. Victor Martinez is doing okay. JD Martinez isn't doing a whole lot right now. Your, 4 out of your 5 starters are crap. Honestly, Justin Verlander's not doing a whole lot. Anibal Sanchez, giant question marks. He can usually get you into the 5th, maybe the 6th. Mike Pelfrey's a giant turd out there. It's a mess. Besides Jordan Zimmerman, you've got nothing on the mound. And then at times, your bullpen has shown what Detroit bullpens are capable of doing, and that's exploding. The one thing you can say about this bullpen is it does look a little bit better than it has in previous years. But that being said, they still have their faux pas where they go out there and they just set themselves on fire and roll around in it. So it's a very flawed team. You got to get the wins. It seems like the team is still behind Brad Ausmus. So him being fired, I don't see it happening, at least not anytime soon. But this team's got to start coming together and they've got to start hitting the ball. They're built like a power softball team. They're built to hit home runs. If they're not hitting home runs, they're not going to win games. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
You know what we're seeing? I don't think people are mad at the 2016 version of the Tigers. I think a lot of fans are really upset now that this is a team with a payroll of $200 million. You're sprinkling a lot of $20 million contracts plus to aged veterans that aren't performing. And so what you're seeing is a collective fan base that is so frustrated that we haven't gotten a ring. And the Illiches are, throwing money at guys that, as fans, it's time to say, maybe Miggy doesn't, at this point in time, shouldn't be on the squad. Maybe JV shouldn't be on the squad. Maybe Victor Martinez, although he's coming off of a 4-hit game, versus Washington, maybe shouldn't have been signed to that extension. Maybe you should have moved some of these guys for a 4 and 5 starter legitimately, not potential. Even after JV and Zimmerman, you got guys 3, 4, and 5 that you don't know what you're going to get game in and game out. They're young. You're basically now forced to keep Pelfrey in the starting rotation because everyone else is so young. So you have a fan base that I think is smart enough to know this is a 500 team. I'm not mad I'm mad that they lose 7 straight. You wouldn't expect that. You would expect, a couple games won here, a couple games lost here. But this is a 500 team. I'm not mad at them. I kind of thought this is what they would do. I'm mad that collectively this is how a team is built. You go out there, and I know it's early. I don't like it when you have a chance to pick between 2 players, and the guy that's not here in Cespedes is mashing the hell out of the baseball with the Mets, and our guy here is whiffing and looks like, basically a guy that we're wasting money on. Upton is struggling, not hitting as many home runs as we thought. He's been a disappointment so far. Everyone's blowing smoke saying it's not going to last forever. He's going to come around. Are you so sure about that? He was sprinkled around Major League Baseball for a reason. So it just looks like this team wasn't assembled properly. And I think this fan base is not happy. It could get really bad this next 9-game stand at home if they don't turn it around. They got a tough stretch of games coming up. It's not easy.
Now peel back that layer, that onion that you were talking about there. You've got to realize for the past 10 years, for the past decade, it's basically been a team that's had a payroll in the top 5 or top 10 of all of Major League Baseball. On top of that, a lot of the players that are on this roster right now have been there since that 2006 season. And that 2006 season, they were ultra competitive. And it came out of nowhere, surprised everybody. And we've been waiting for a World Series championship since then. So now you've basically been in the fast lane, pumping your brakes for the last 10 years. So yeah, fans are antsy. Fans are upset. They expected results, especially after that 2006 season. It's almost like you sat there, you're in line in the cafeteria at school, and you got your tray, and you're waiting to get something to eat. And just as you get up to the line, they run out of everything that you wanted. And now you're just sitting there, and you're like, well, what the hell am I going to do? Next thing you know, you're eating a king-size Twix bar and a bag of Skittles, and you're sucking down coffee trying to stay awake, and so you can go to your math class and do your algebra. You're in my situation. You're all tweaked out on candy and caffeine right now. What the hell's going on? You're seeing shapes and stars. It's like Lucky Charms. They're exploding in my face.
So the question that's being bantered about, one that's going to be debated wildly until it happens or doesn't, should Brad Ausmus be the manager of this 2016 team at this point? How do you see, if you think that he should be fired, how do you think they should go?
up until he loses this team, and I don't believe he's lost this team yet, and maybe I'm playing, I don't know, the middle ground here, which I usually do. I'm always half-stepping. I don't think you can fire him. Like I said, I believe the team still believes in Brad Ausmus. I don't think he's lost this ball club yet. Again, I don't think he's winning you games. I think he does have the propensity to help you lose games, but I think the players have to go out there and they have to perform. You talked about it yourself. You said a guy like Justin Upton, you bring him in, you pay him a buttload of money, and what's he do? He underperforms. I mean, exactly.
Has he done anything besides that mammoth shot, that one home run?
That's what he's doing. And on top of it, he's a liability in the field. Anthony Ghost, a liability in the field. Miguel Cabrera's not hitting the ball. JD Martinez, not hitting the ball. You got these guys who aren't doing what you brought them in to do in the way that you figured that this roster would work. They're not working right now. A guy like Justin Verlander, you expected him to return to some semblance of dominance, and he's been up and down. Anibal Sanchez, we said it before the season started. He needed to be the cog that had to work. He was basically the impetus for this starting pitching staff to be good or not, and he's been not good. The starting pitching staff has not been good. It's kind of what it is. This is a very flawed team, and they're struggling.
And it seems game in, game out, there are situations where Brad Ausmus has these tests. And I told Jason and Vito, I said, in our chats, I said to them, this will be an opportunity because when you manage in the National League, you got to start showing your mettle. And there was a play in the initial game versus Washington that a lot of people are speculating on, and that was Victor Martinez when they were tied 4-4. There's a base open, and he decides to pinch hit Victor Martinez. So Dusty Baker and Brad Ausmus said that he was well aware that was going to happen, that Dusty Baker was just going to intentionally walk V-Mart because the base was open, and you bring in Sal Telemakia. All Dusty Baker does is bring in a lefty, switches Salty around to bat right-handed, and the law of numbers indicates that right-handed Salty is just not as effective. So everyone, when it happened, was kind of cringing, maybe crossing their fingers, hoping Salty comes through and for once makes his manager look good. But it didn't happen. The law of numbers took over. Salty didn't get the runs. You lose that game. Were you furious? Because Twitter blew up. Our Twitter page blew up. Everyone's like, this is stupid. Dusty Baker outmanaged Brad Ausmus. Another stupid move. Why would you take the bat out of Victor Martinez's hands, given the fact you could go and do later innings? People were pissed off.
I was more surprised that the book on Brad Ausmus is he is intelligent. He's very smart. I was surprised that he basically worked himself into a corner there, and then he got out-coached. I mean, were you shocked that he did that and that he made that play? It seems like it's a rookie mistake. Like, what are you doing? This is your third year in the league. I know you managed Team Israel, whoop-de-doo, but this is your third year in the league. What are you doing? Again, not setting his team up and putting his players in positions to win games. He has cost them a couple games over the course of his major league career as a coach or as a manager, and he's not polished or proficient yet. I really wish he would have been brought on as a bench manager so he could have learned a few things.
A lot of people are saying that, okay, the stance people are kind of spewing and messaging us is that Brad Ausmus really isn't the problem, but he isn't the answer.
Exactly.
He's not getting you wins. He's costing you in some situations in terms of how he's using the starters, when he's bringing guys on, and it just looks like he's outmatched game in, game out by guys with more experience. So if you ask me, do I think whether Brad Ausmus should be let go? Obviously, yes. I think, anybody but Brad at this point in time will satisfy me.
Well, who do you want? You want a guy like Gene Lamont?
I would say no.
You want a guy like
Omar Vizquel.
All right.
You put a guy like that in there, make him an interim.
Again, though, you have a manager who has not managed a ball club at this level before. He's been a bench coach. He's been a positional coach, and
I don't think he's a long-term answer. No, I just think stopgap. This is an interim year. This has a feel of an interim year. This doesn't have a feel to me of a team that's going to make a deep run in the postseason. You got two starting pitchers. You can't win legitimately in the postseason with two guys. I mean, they can't pitch on 2 days rest. You're going to have to count on the 3 and 4. Who's that going to be?
Schilling do it?
Maybe, potentially, but it's not happening here in Detroit. You got Pelfrey going out there who's giving up 5 runs game in, game out, and they come out and say, oh, we're spinning our wheels, but they have no other options. If that's the best option you're throwing out there is Mike Pelfrey, and you're waiting on a number 5 to emerge and be productive, forget about it. Fulmer's looking decent. He's a guy, but he's a prospect. You're not going to roll with the title with him.
Do you see this team possibly hovering around 500 and
yes.
playing in playoff contention
Nope.
up until the trade deadline and then making a move?
That's what they need to do, but I don't.
Do you see it happening?
I don't see value in that. I'm hoping Nick C continues to mash and maybe move him along for a couple prospects. Maybe you get a big deal out of him. You have to start making, if you're going to make trades, you're going to have to start trading some assets to get some assets. And I would say right now, who would be on the trade block? Potentially a Nick C if he's continuing to mash at this level. Then you can get a couple starters, maybe an everyday player.
Maybe even a JD.
Well, I don't know.
He's not mashing right now, but there's a lot of potential there, and I think people
His
see the
contract's fair enough.
potential.
A lot of potential there. Yeah. So I just think that that's the tough job Avila has. Is like, okay, this team needs to be improved, but I don't know giving up pieces how much that's going to improve the team. Taking away Nick C right now, he's the only guy that's hitting the ball consistently. It's unfortunate now in that this is what we needed. We needed Nick C to hit, not for everybody else that we expect to hit to take a dive. Miguel Cabrera has been underachieving. And again, stupid base running mistakes in the game versus Washington, and that resulted in him missing the second game. Why are you trying to run to third base after you just got nicked up going to second? That was stupid. And of course, I didn't think that, he was going to survive a season healthy anyway. And again, you're running to second base and you don't know how to slide properly and you get nicked up. So I'm like, okay, great. Miggy getting hurt running the bases, check. That's now off the list. He did that. He fulfilled that part of his deal. Every year, he seems like he's, getting hurt, fielding the ball, running the ball. It's unfortunate right now that this team has such high expectations, but they're so far under delivering. And it's frustrating. It's maddening. And I think the person or group most to blame for this is the upper management. Al Avila didn't put together the right mix. It's not the right mix right now. And you have a situation where you got a guy, Steven Moya, down in the minors. He's mashing the baseball, but you got no room for him. You got nowhere to put him. And it's unfortunate because every home run he gets there, great, but it's not helping us. It's not helping the Tigers. And it's a situation where a bad team is a team where when you get hits, they don't pitch. And when you pitch, they don't hit. They're not putting it together, and we're still waiting for both units to play great together. That's a sign of a bad team.
Do you see this team somehow, though, putting it together like you said?
No.
You don't see it coming together at all this season?
500 or no more than 6 games above 500 at any point.
Mind you, the San Francisco Giants at one point in their season, they lost 7 games, went on to win the World Series. I think this team is talented enough to be able to do it, but we haven't seen it yet, so why are you going to expect it to happen?
Right.
I think they have the talent where they can do it, though. And I wouldn't be surprised if they got hot. Again, baseball is one of those sports where it's a law of averages. After 162 games, you know what you are. And you get hot, you get cold. You get hot, you get cold. And in the end, if you're a 300 hitter, you're going to be right around 300. So I think Miguel Cabrera, he's got to come out of it. Nick Castellanos, hopefully he can keep this up. I mean, you figure if we can head into June, July, and he's still hovering around 300, he's batting 378 right now. If he can somehow hover around 300, shoot, you'll take that all day. And if, Upton can kind of turn his season around, I think there's a possibility. And it's a whole bunch of ifs and buts. And ifs and buts, if Candy were nuts, my grandmother would be my grandfather if she had a junk, So, it's what it is. But I think the team has the talent to be able to do it. We just got to see it.
So now Wednesday night, superstar matchup, Zimmerman versus Scherzer. What are you looking for? Are you looking for, obviously everyone's thinking it's going to be a low-scoring game. So I said I was going to send out a tweet. It's going to be like Tigers 12, Nationals 10. But I kind of going into it like everyone else expects that it's going to be a low-scoring game. Not a lot of opportunities to score. Scherzer and Zimmerman both have high motivation. I'm excited. This is one of those games where, win or lose, I just want to see a good quality pitching matchup because you got arguably 2 aces going at it, and some competitiveness will be there. So it should make for a fun matchup. Should make for a must-see baseball game. One I'm checking out for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great pitcher's duel. If Jordan Zimmerman can give you a 7, I think you're going to be sitting okay. You got to try to get the max early. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Geez Louise, man, he's been really good.
Yeah, so basically it's going to come down to the Tigers bullpen and which Mark Lowe is going to be thrown out there again, and he'll give up another another home run to Zimmerman, who's on fire.
Yeah, again, the bullpen does what the bullpen can do. It might win you a game. It might set itself on fire. Again, team's a coin flip. 500 ball club.
You still invested watching? You still kind of peeking into them? They haven't lost you yet?
Not as much as I was. At this point, there are other things that I may either be busy doing or other things that I have to get done around the house. I'm going to do those before I sit down to watch the Tiger game. I will check in, and I do kind of keep tabs on what's going on, and I have watched games, but not like I was earlier in the season.
Okay,
That's
Tigers.
for damn sure.
They got to definitely do something to spark interest. Like this Detroit Sports Podcast. What we do is we bring great guests to the podcast. Up next, a couple great interviews with Walt Barnes from Michigan 26 and Neena Kalasho from TV20's What's Up Detroit television program. Stay with us. Doc and Jock, episode 144 on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out fanaticu.com and get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wing shirt, rock your Lions shirt, rock your Piston apparel. Wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out, fanaticu.com.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
On the phone with us right now is Walt Barnes. He is, I guess, the creative and driving force behind Michigan 26. Walt, we'd like to welcome you to the Detroit Sports Podcast. How you doing?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on today.
Let's kind of just dive right into it. Tell us about Michigan 26, because I think this is a really great and interesting idea that you got put together here.
Yeah, basically, Michigan 26 it's a charity hockey game, but it's a little more than just a charity hockey game. It's going to last for 26 straight hours, which would set it to be the longest hockey game played in the U.S. The previous record was held by a group out of Connecticut. They did 25 straight hours back in 2014. So we're just trying to get some people together, play some puck for a good cause.
What are you guys trying to raise money for here?
Well, the two charities. The first charity is the East Side East Side Youth Sports Foundation. They're actually the organization that runs the rink that we'll be running the event out of. They're kind enough to donate the rink to us, and not charging me any money or anything to use the rink. So I figured the least I could do is fire them some money, because they are doing a lot of great things for kids around the Metro Detroit area, getting kids involved in hockey and soccer, and they are a rapidly growing foundation that is using youth sports to get kids opportunities in the inner city that they not necessarily wouldn't be able to get anywhere else, because they pay for the equipment, or at least they give kids reduced costs for equipment. And the second charity is the Michigan Heart Foundation. They do a lot of great work with kids, with children in Michigan with different heart diseases.
Doc here. I'm very curious as to the logistics regarding a 26-hour hockey game. How does that work? You got a couple squads. How is that going to be put together?
Yeah, well, the way we're going to do it is we're going to have everything broken down into two different teams. We're going to have players rotating in and out throughout the 26 hours. Anyone who wants to play, they can play as long as they want. I have guys who are committed to playing for at least 10 hours. You don't have to play for 10 hours, obviously, but we're going to break it down to 60 minutes, basically 60-minute segments. We're going to go 60 minutes, and then we're going to have a stoppage, get the ice cleaned off and everything, and go for another 60 minutes. Just keep that going until we hit our 26-hour mark.
Walt, I'm basically spent after an hour of playing hockey. I need beers just flowing through me after that. Goodness, that's gonna be intense. 10 hours of hockey for some of these guys, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I told guys, like, you can play as long as you want. You don't have to play for 10 hours or 12 hours. Even one buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, he's pledged to play 15 hours along with me. So, I mean, we're going to be out there for a long time. It's for a good cause. So,
it's players of all skill levels can join up. Are you guys still looking for players?
Yes, we are still looking for players, and yes, players of all skill levels are welcome. The only restrictions I have is the age, 18 and up only, and that's just because I don't want to deal with the liabilities of minors or anything if anything happens to anyone, to any minor. So that is the only restriction. Guys, girls, doesn't matter.
How did you get involved with this? How did you come up with this? I mean, when we were talking before, you said this. Well, you're kind of the idea here, the brainstormer for this. I mean, what led you to create this event?
Well, I played hockey my whole life. It's my favorite sport. My humble opinion, I think it's the greatest sport on the planet. I realized at a fairly early age that I was never play, but I always wanted to try to do something involving hockey for good causes and to make people's lives better. And I kicked around some ideas and everything. I never really had the resources or the ability or really the knowledge on what I could do. And about 2 years ago, I was playing drop-in, and it was like one of the 70-minute drop-ins, but we only had about 10 skaters for each side, so we weren't getting a lot of rest, just going out, constantly going. And I just felt halfway through, I was like, man, this is crazy. I don't understand how people can play like this. Professionals play 25 minutes a night. I'm struggling to get through this, and then just kind of a brainstorm just hit me, like, what if I played for an extended period of time in a dirty hockey game? And I started looking into some things up, and I landed. A website took me to this the sports group in Connecticut that put on a 25-hour straight hockey game, and I thought, that's a pretty cool idea. Well, we're Michigan, we're supposed to be hockey town. Let's beat them. Let's do 26. And so I landed on 26, but then I thought, well, let's see what the world record is. Well, the world record is 10 days. So cool. I don't want to do 10 days of hockey right now.
That would be hard.
Kind of start a little. Yeah. This group out in Calgary actually did that last February, 10 straight days of hockey. And so they had the world record. I was just like, Canada, you can have that world record for right now. I'm gonna just try to stick with the U.S. record for now, and then we'll see how this goes.
Awesome. On the phone with us right now is Walt Barnes. He is the creator and the driving force behind Michigan 26, which is a 26-hour straight charity hockey event to raise money for great foundations. Walt, what's the best way people can get involved with Michigan 26?
Right now, I need some players. I need more bodies. I have verbal commitments, but verbal commitments only get you so far. So anyone who wants to play, like we said, all skill levels available, all 18 and up, guys, girls, you play your entire life, or you skated one time at campus marches back in 2008. It doesn't matter. You just go to Michigan26.weebly.com. That's Michigan 26, two numbers, spell out Michigan 26.weebly.com. That's where players sign up. We're also looking for any donations of any monetary value, whatever, it doesn't matter. That obviously we're looking for that. And if anyone has anything that they would like to put into a raffle, because we're going to be raffling off different packages and things throughout the event. Two of my main sponsors are Hard Rock Cafe Detroit and Buffalo Wild Wings Detroit. They're hooking us up with some pretty cool things that we're going to be giving away.
Now, Walt, before we get you out of here, you said you're a big hockey fan, and obviously around here, a lot of talk has been with the Red Wings and their struggles getting eliminated in the first round year after year. What's your current confidence level with the Wings? Do you see this young group as being successful, or do you kind of start to, like a lot of fans, jump off the bandwagon?
I see a lot of potential, a lot of promise with the Wings right now. I mean, I look at their last 2 years in the playoffs, and they've got eliminated. What's been their biggest problem has been their inability to score on a power play, and that comes with not having a legitimate threat running your point on your power play like your good teams do. Look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have Letang running a point. The Lightning, they have Hedman running their point. Even though they didn't make the playoffs, the Montreal Canadiens, they have PK Subban running their power play. They're lacking a power play quarterback. I'm not saying that's if they had that, they'd win the Stanley Cup. Not by a long shot. There's some other deficiencies on this team, but most people look at it and are upset with the way things have gone. And I look at it and I say, well, I mean, unfortunately, they're dealing with a thing right now where you're not a lottery team year after year, like a lot of teams have been that are now good. You're going to run into these problems because you're not guaranteed one of the best 5 players in the world coming out of the draft. And the Wings, they just have to adjust to it. And I think in the next 3 or 4 years, they should be back to being a legitimate contender. At least getting out of the first round every year.
You know what? I just want to congratulate you. I think this is a great event that you're putting together and that you're doing. You guys can follow Walt on Twitter at RealWaltimore, or you can follow Michigan 26 at MI26. That's spelled out. And you can check out his website, michigan26.weebly.com. Walt, thank you for coming on, and thanks for sharing this great event with us.
Yeah. Also, we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/Michigan26 as well.
Excellent. Walt,
Yeah,
thank you again,
so-
and keep up the great work.
Thank you for having me on, gentlemen. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Good stuff there, cuz. Very interesting. He had the kid in the background. He was like, and you know, when kids are there, they always have that moment. They know exactly right when he's about to say the Twitter page or the website. He's like, ah! That's why I love doing this. It's fun stuff. But definitely check it out. I've already tweeted out on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Follow them again at MI26 or at Real Baltimore, and we'll blow it up, because I know if it's important to Cuz, then it's very important to me. We love doing charitable work, and hopefully check back in. See, a lot of fans, that love hockey are definitely in the know regarding what the hell the Wings need.
That's right.
Give us what we need.
Give us what we want. We want championships.
Well, you know what I want to do? I want to chat with Neena, because
I know you do. You've only been talking about this for weeks now.
All right, we'll take another commercial break. We'll be back. Stay with us, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We're going to talk to Neena Kalasho from What's Up Detroit. We'll talk college football after that. Stay with us. I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests, take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful, and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. All right, cuz, back on the Detroit Sports Podcast, episode 144. So let me tell you a funny story. So at work, I got a little bit of free time from time to time, and I'm scrolling through Facebook, checking out Twitter, and I come across this very interesting Facebook page. Her name is Neena Kalasho, and I'm like, oh my goodness here. She's the host of What's Up Detroit on TV20. And I'm like, you know what? I know the season 2 premiere's coming up. I think she'd be very interesting to talk to. And she definitely was willing to return my phone calls and texts. So on the line right now, Neena Kalasho from What's Up Detroit, TV20. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. Tell the listeners who don't know what's Up Detroit and where they can find it.
Okay, well, What's Up Detroit is a TV show that comes on TV20 every Sunday at 3 p.m. We are a little bit on a break right now, but season 2 is coming back 10 days away on the 22nd of May. So make sure you tune in to TV20 Sundays at 3 p.m. and watch the show. You guys won't be disappointed.
Now, Neena, I just want to let you know that you're a lot better than me, because you actually returned his phone calls. I try to put him off until the very last minute, until I've got to see him. And that's usually on when we're recording this podcast. So thank you for contacting him and taking your time out to talk to this guy, because I sure don't. But
he was really nice, so I could not say no.
Maybe a little stalkerish, a little creeper there. No, I'm just joking.
No.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You're from West Bloomfield, it seems like, and how did you kind of get into this? I mean, doing TV is a little bit difficult to get into.
It is, and you know what? It's funny. I never thought I would get into it. It was always something that was just in the back of my mind. I never pursued it. As well as modeling, it was just something that was there. But opportunities started to arise, and I kept taking them. And one thing led to another. Some way, somehow, Darius, who is the producer of the show, got in touch with me and said, hey, I've seen you've done some work with TV modeling, and I was wondering if you'd be interested in this. And tell you the truth, at first, I kind of thought it was like a gimmick. I was like, no, it's not true. I don't know who this guy is. But I gave him a chance, and I'm glad I did. Sure enough, here we are. We're about to start our season 2 show, and so many things have changed from the beginning till now. We have so many new segments. We have new stuff, fun, interesting, and lots of laughs.
What does the show feature?
Pretty much anything and everything about Detroit. Mostly the positive side, though. It's kind of like take the news and just make it positive, which is kind of hard to imagine because there's so much negative with Detroit surrounding us in the news. And even when you travel, you just mention you're from Detroit, and everyone's like, oh, ouch, I feel bad. I'm like, why do you say that? I love my city. What's wrong with you guys?
So you've been out, you were there season 1. What was one of your more memorable stories or features that you did in season 1?
You know, I interviewed so many key people in season 1. We did so many events. I'd have to say, I don't know. I don't want to single anyone out. They were all great. You know, we've done Jimmy Howard, who's a great hockey player for the Red Wings. He's a goalie. I'm sure you guys know who he is. And I love all of our home teams. That was a pretty cool interview. I did a couple events that were really cool and throughout the city of Detroit, like the auto show events, the after party for the auto show. Those were really fun. Got to meet a lot of fun, familiar faces there. So Tommy Hearns was great. He was a lot of fun. I guess just learning a little bit about his past and what he's doing now and how he's still connected to his city. And I feel like that's what the most important thing is with most of these interviews is we meet so many people that have a great reputation throughout the city but have stayed in the city and are true to their city.
Okay, now you got season 2 upcoming. Give us a little bit of a sneak peek. What kind of stories are going to be featured? What's going to make the doc tune into TV20 at 3 o'clock besides you hosting?
Well, that's number one. But no, we have some great new talent that's also joining us. We have sports section now. We have a segment where I'm doing that's called Find Me in the Deep, where I'm out in the streets interviewing random people, doing trivia questions. You definitely have to catch that because most of them are drunk and their answers are hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so there's just so much. Honestly, you just watch one episode, and I promise you're going to want to watch more and more and more.
And the show comes out in a couple weeks on TV20. You can follow the show on Twitter at What's Up TV20. Now, you said earlier that you've done some modeling. How did you get into that? And that must be a very interesting job right now at this point in time in your life.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty interesting. I love it. I actually love it a lot. I enjoy it very much. It's something that just gets me out of my regular zone that I'm in 24 hours a day, my work. That's all I do. I'm so busy. And then once I'm in front of the cameras, all the photographers I've worked with will probably tell you the same thing. I'm just laughing and joking and having so much fun with it. And I think that's what makes my photos great. You know, I have fun with it. I'm not too serious. And that, again, I just kind of got into randomly. And things just kept taking off and more jobs kept coming up and I just couldn't say no.
So you said you just got into it randomly. Did you go to, maybe a call or a situation where somebody said, hey, go to this thing for a shoot? Or how did you get into your first modeling gig?
I was approached about it randomly and someone asked me if I would do a photo shoot for their company. And I said, sure, why not? I like taking selfies. How hard could it be for someone else to take pictures of me, I guess? And they loved me. They thought I was a great fit for what they needed. And just like I said, one thing led to another. More people started asking. More people were coming up to me about different things, different products. And I haven't had to say no to anyone yet, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll see where it takes me.
Neena, what do you find more enjoyable, being in front of the television camera or in front of the photo camera?
I would have to say maybe being in front of the photos, in front of a camera, because you don't know how it's going to look. I feel like when you're in front of the video camera, it's more natural, your appearance, your look, everything, and it's you. And I love who I am. I wouldn't change who I am for anyone. And I think being in front of a video camera makes me feel a little more comfortable because that's just me. I'm not acting. I'm not pretending. This is who I am. When in front of a photo, like, when we're doing a photo shoot, sometimes I have to be this, like, mean girl or give me that attitude. It just depends. Depends on the role I'm in.
All right, all the producers are throwing things at me and yelling in my ear. They want to know, Neena, are you spoken for? Do you have a boyfriend?
Oh, man, no, I don't.
You've made.
I do not
You should
at
have
the
seen
moment.
the fist pumps that went around the room right now.
Oh,
I love it.
the guys in the window are clapping. They want to know, okay, because they've definitely checked out your Facebook and quote unquote research. They've seen you take pictures with 50 Cent, go around town and hang out at the clubs. If one of the guys were to go out and about in downtown, because it has a very sprawling nightlife and a lot of nice clubs downtown, where's a nice place to go and where does Neena hang out in the evening hours?
Okay. Well, speaking of Instagram, Facebook first, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It is my first and last name, Neena Kalasho, and also on Snapchat if you guys like. But where do I hang out? It's funny. I don't really like to hang out that much unless I'm doing events. But I guess I would have to say, mainly because we've had so many events at these places.
Wait, hold on. So, Neena, are you more of a Netflix and chill kind of girl?
I'm more of a family type girl.
Oh, I gotcha.
I enjoy spending my weekends at home with
You
the
see how I tried
cousins,
tripping you up there, right?
Right.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So it's fine. My cousins, my nieces, my son, my nephew, they all, come over on the weekends. We go to one of their houses or they come to my house. We hang out. But I guess, let me see. We're MGMV, Onyx in Detroit. Royal Oak is always fun now that summer's coming. Royal Oak in Birmingham, probably catch me there. I think those, maybe 350 Terrace, when that opens up, you'll probably catch me at one of those places. If you follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you'll always know where I am. If I'm doing events, I always post it. And don't be shy to come say hi, guys. Whoever it is, I'm really nice, I promise.
Okay, great. So now that we have your phone number, definitely down the line in the summer as maybe season 2 progresses, we'd love to have you back on, talk about entertaining things going on in Detroit. If you'll allow it, we'd love to have you on regularly here on the Detroit Sports Podcast.
Thank you. I would love that. And honestly, I have to come by as well. I feel really bad we have to do this over the phone, but hopefully the next time we do this, I come to the studio and I get to meet you guys all in person.
Sounds good.
Sounds great. Thank you. Neena Kalasho, host of What's Up Detroit, debuting season 2 later on in May. Definitely check her out. We're going to highlight her on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. See her around town. She's very approachable, very nice. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, cuz, how do we resume from that? My goodness.
We just move right into college football. That's what we do next.
Neena's great. You know what I like? I like about people who are real and people that, like I said, I've never met her. I just messaged her just after saying, well, the funny story was I emailed her, and a couple of weeks go by, and I didn't get any response. I'm like, okay, no problem. She's busy. Well, all of a sudden, she emails you back and said, oh, I'm interested in coming on. I just forgot to hit send or, might have went to a different spot. So she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, we'll have you on anytime. And, she's a great TV host. Sounds like she's got a great personality, and we look forward to chatting with her. She could be our entertainment correspondent.
You know what's cool? Hot chicks who don't think that they're hot chicks. And she seems like one of those type of girls. Really cool, down to earth. You can talk to her. You can rap about anything. She didn't get tripped up when I threw that Netflix and chill comment out there. She kind of just rolled right over it. So, yeah, she's a cool chick, man, for sure.
Yeah, definitely check out her TV show, What's Up Detroit. I'm actually looking forward to hearing that segment where she goes out and talks to drunk people on the street. I wonder how that's going to go.
That would be awesome. We should do that.
Well, yeah. What do you think I text Vinny and tweet him about? I'm like, do bits, funny bits. And, when he's working 75 hours, how do you do bits?
It's true. You could talk to the guys that he cuts grass with when he's doing that. Do you ever hear any of those stories?
No.
You need to hear some of those stories.
That's what I'm looking forward to as his podcast evolves, which airs every Sunday/Monday.
His one buddy, Chico, and his other buddy, Chola. Dude,
Chico and Chola?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes,
Come on, bro.
I swear.
Tales of Chico and Chola would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious. I'll talk to Vinny about it.
Yeah. Just think, see, okay, good. No, his show has potential, which I like. It's just, when things start out and you're busy, you got to kind of take it slow.
Yes.
You don't give him all the entertaining up front. He's still 5 episodes in, but his show, along with a lot of great other shows, that's what make up this podcast network, in that great people want to talk to us. We have fun, and I look forward to maybe potentially one day having Neena in studio and sharing some stories about meeting 50 Cent and getting out and about and how her television show evolves. What's Up Detroit-Tv20.
Check it out.
All right. Now, you were fascinated, and I was as well, because I definitely read a lot of the articles regarding college football and this whole talk now of super conferences, the way things are shaking out regarding these TV networks and how they're making money or helping these universities or not. And then a lot of talk about the satellite camps, which were off, on, back off, back on again. They've said, okay, fine, we're going to bow down to Jesus Harbaugh. And last I heard, I think he's going to go into Beirut and do a satellite camp.
He
looking for the latest Lebanese prospects out there.
He might. If you give him time, you give him a chance.
Yeah.
He's looking under every rock and every stone. Do you want to start with those? We can start with those if you want. I mean, because this guy's got 23 satellite camps, and he's got it in 15 states. And now you're showing me pictures of hot chicks. Way to go. How am I supposed to talk about this?
I wanted to trip you up, professional.
Yes.
Professional podcaster.
That's right.
DJ man.
So, yeah, no, Michigan's just...
Well, you heard he's going to Australia. That's what
he's
I heard.
going everywhere. He's not just Australia. I mean, if this guy could go to the moon, he's going to hold a satellite camp on the moon. It's becoming, honestly, I'm a Michigan fan, and this is becoming unreal. Like I said, 23 satellite camps in 15 states, going to Australia, going to the moon, going to hold one on Mars and Pluto if he could. This is becoming nuts, bro. And I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it because it's all above board. Do what you got to do. But this is just becoming overload, I think. I mean, how do you feel about this? The one good thing, I guess, all the SEC critics, all the coaches, everybody who was railing against him, guess what? They're all joining him at these satellite camps. So they have nothing to complain about now.
How do you feel about those that feel like this is illegal recruiting?
It's not, though, because he's not doing anything illegal. I think the satellite camps are great, and it's a great chance for people or for kids who don't have that option to sit there and be seen by bigger schools. You can go to these satellite camps, and you can get picked up by a big school who hasn't had a chance to sit there and see you and see what you can do. On top of that, if you are a really good athlete and you're getting a little bit overshadowed at your program, this is a way for another school to come in and see you and say, hey, maybe we can do something with you. Look at a guy like Antonio Brown. He was a guy who ends up going to Central, and next thing you know, he's like the best wide receiver in all of the NFL. I have no idea if he attended a satellite camp, but Central was a school that seen something in him and seen that they were able to do something with him. There are kids like that who attend these satellite camps. They get seen by smaller schools. They get seen by bigger schools. They think they can do something with them. And then next thing you know, they give them an education and they let them play football. And that's what they want to do. So I don't have a problem with the satellite camps. As long as everything's above board, it's cool. I just find it really funny that the SEC comes out and they're railing against, as you said, Jesus Harbaugh. And then next thing you know, now they're on his coattails. They're like, hey, you're going to do that camp? Let us join you. Let's do that too.
I agree that potentially there can be some violations that can come of this. But all in all, it helps kids that potentially can't afford the big time money to come up to Michigan and come up and participate in things that are run by the University of Michigan. It's one of those situations where the positives outweigh the negatives. Yes, there's potentially a chance now that Michigan is going to be able to get a lot more kids. They can go into SEC country. They can go into other people's territories. Basically,
which is great.
You know what it's like?
The SEC does it to us all the time.
Basically, Harbaugh is like the big time business that comes in and takes over the small guys businesses and things like that. So a lot of people that are small time are like, hey, we don't want big dog Harbaugh in Michigan rolling down here and exposing, telling everybody about their program and trying to get these top guys because hey, recruiting's a business.
I think what it is though, it's more the University of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh going at the SEC. Because he's going into SEC country, and the SEC does not want anything to do with Harbaugh. They want him out of there as much as possible. But he says, no, I'm going to go down there, I'm going to recruit your fertile grounds, and I'm going to take some of your talent. And they're pissed off about it. That's really what this comes down to. You got guys like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, other coaches in the SEC that are just all fired up because he's going to take their recruits. He's going to take some of the guys that they're in on. And that makes them mad, and they're losing out on those guys. That being said, I don't think Nick Saban's going to have a problem replenishing. I don't think Kirby Smart's going to struggle. He's, by all accounts, he's going to be a very good head coach. He was a great coordinator, so he's going to be fine. But they don't want Michigan coming down there, and they don't want other Big Ten schools because now Urban Meyer's doing it. Everybody else is doing it now. I'm waiting for Mark E.D. to figure it out and him set up his own, camps here.
No, I understand. When's
Mark E.D. going to Texas?
This is what the big dogs have to do in order to compete. This is big time business. This is big time what these programs have to do in order to lure in the top talent. Because you got to remember, getting to the National Football Playoff is huge money for the universities, huge money for the conference. And right now, the Big Ten is really doing well, being that Ohio State's been in the playoff, Michigan State's been in the playoff. They're reaping in this money. So they're trying to do whatever they can to get and maintain success. You know, as much as it sucks that Harbaugh is the first guy to actually do it and push it forward, it's as long as it's fair across the board, everybody can do it. And in the end, you still have to build a program. You still have to win. He could have 100,000 satellite camps. If he's not winning and bringing home trophies, then everyone's still going to go to Michigan State, Ohio State, Alabama, the big dogs in the SEC. You got to win.
And that's the thing. That's the point. You know what? You got to sit there and you got to take care of home first. You got to beat teams like Ohio State. You got to beat teams like Michigan State. Right now, those are the two big schools in the Big Ten. Michigan's got a lot of ground to make up on those two schools. So you're right. He could hold a bajillion satellite camps. If he's not winning and the results aren't there, you look like an idiot, Jim.
Something that really just got to me, and I guess it's something that I knew would happen after Harbaugh's first year, is that ESPN put out rankings preseason. I know it's way too early, but where does Michigan fall out? Number 3. Where does Michigan State fall out? Number 16. I'm like, okay, dude, seriously? You know, a lot of ESPN writers, not a groundswell or overwhelming support, but a lot of people are talking that Michigan's going to be in the playoff, that they're going to be great, that it's all good, Michigan's got a nice class, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, come on, dude. Seriously, it's too early for that. It's too early to predict what these guys are doing.
Yeah,
Number 3 already?
And the recruits aren't going to make a difference. Here's the thing, though. If you look at what Michigan State lost just in this draft in the NFL,
it's tough.
It's going to be hard because they lost a lot along the offensive line. They lost a lot along the defensive line. On top of it, they lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
And a guy like Connor Cook that we've talked about quite a bit over the last month or two.
How do you put a program in the top 5 with a guy that's going to be relatively new to be a starter playing college football? I don't get it.
I don't understand that
because
either.
there's love for Harbaugh. Whatever he does is gold.
I think maybe because they didn't lose as much on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball, whereas Michigan State, basically that offensive line has been gutted. You know, you lost Jack Conklin, you lost Jack Allen, you lost your 3-4 year quarterback in Connor Cook,
Aaron Burbridge.
You lost Shalik Calhoun, who is your defensive leader. So there was a lot of pieces. I mean, right there, we just named 4 or 5 right off the top of our head. You know, that's not even counting guys that got picked up and went through free agency or trying out for teams. So they've lost a lot. Michigan hasn't lost as much because Michigan's talent pool wasn't as deep. So I think that might be why. But again, I don't understand why Michigan's ranked number 3 and Michigan State's 16, you said?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
If Michigan, who by all likelihood, when you look at the schedule, comes into East Lansing undefeated, ranked number 1, hell, I'll take it. It's just looking at it now going, how do you even give them that number? Yeah, they got recruits. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh's there. But
the
you got to remember,
don't make a damn
he
bit of
still
difference
hasn't won the big game.
Now.
I know your last image of him was dominating Florida and things like that, but you still don't have, an image of what they've done this year. I wouldn't be willing to go down that road and give them such a high ranking, especially with their first year potential quarterback starting and things like that. And you don't know how things shake out with injuries and things like that. So, but hey, if they come in undefeated and Michigan State's going to win at East Lansing, well, I'll take it.
All right. Speaking of disrespect, do you take this as disrespect or maybe even respect? MSU has 3 primetime games on the Big Ten Network. However, they have no primetime games on ESPN or ABC.
No, I don't look at it as disrespect. I look at it as respect. It's fine. Michigan State lost a lot, like you said, and it's one of those things where they do draw, but they don't draw like Michigan. Michigan, they could come off of a 9-5 year, 9-4 year, and you could put them anywhere. Michigan State, they still got to prove it. Even getting to the college football playoff, the way they were bounced out by Alabama, they were dominated. So the perception and the narrative is that they don't belong. So I get it. They still got to prove themselves. So if they get put on whatever time.
Do you know where the Big Ten Network is on your provider?
It's in the 400s, and I can't tell you 401, 401.
You don't even know where the channel is.
No, it's tough.
I think it's 610 on DirecTV.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not even sure. This is total disrespect.
You think so?
Nobody knows where the hell the Big Ten Network is in their cable package.
Right.
Like, I've got to sit there and I've got to go to my search option on my controller, type in MSU football to find it. Or I've got to hit the little red dot on my DirecTV remote that brings up the scores along the side, and then I can go that way. Either way, I've got to go through hoops to find out where the hell the Big Ten Network is.
Does your phone allow you to run some channels off of some of the stuff on DirecTV?
Yes.
Like I get,
I can
Cookie
stream
Channel.
it all right there, yeah.
Exactly. That's what I recently did with the Big Ten Network. It's actually, it's easier to do it from the phone than it is actually finding it on the TV.
dude, this is total disrespect. Nobody even knows where the hell the Big Ten Network is. And the fact that they get 3 primetime games and they don't get to sniff ESPN or ABC money, it's ridiculous to me.
Are you hearing some of the whispers that potentially the Tigers and Wings could be starting their own type channel from New York?
I heard. And they're going to sit there and they're going to charge you for it, which is going to piss me off.
I didn't hear that part.
Yes.
Oh, hell no.
It's not going to be free, bro. They're going to Yes, they will charge you. I think the early rumblings I heard, it'll be like a $10 fee to get like 40 some games for the season. Yeah.
Oh, hell no.
Yes.
I was excited.
Wait for it, bro. It's going to be just like the Yes Network. Gonna rack up into your cable bill and charge you.
Oh, brother.
Speaking about racking stuff up, how do you feel about mega conferences? This is something that always gets bantered about and always gets talked about as preseason kind of rolls around for college football, and we've got satellite camps going on, and everybody's kind of sitting there working out, stretching out, and you're trying to figure out what you got here. Mega conferences are always the conversation that comes up, and it's basically the Power Fives split off into basically 16-team Goliaths. I think they're great, dude. This is where we're going.
Yeah.
I say 7 to 10 years, this is where we're at.
I was looking into it, and I was like, okay, which teams would I want to come to the Big Ten? I would love to see Texas, Oklahoma, renew some strong rivalries there. It would make for some great football games. I would love to see mega conferences. I don't know how teams like Notre Dame continue to be independent, and some of these teams in these outer conferences try to do their best. But in the end, it's going to have to happen where, they shrink down. It started to happen now. Look at the Big Ten. It's expanded. And look at these other conferences. It's just one of those things where the situation will be much better if you just have 4 mega conferences. The winner of each gets to go to the playoff, and you know who the best team is.
Can we return Rutgers and Maryland? And
kick
can we
them
get
out.
like Iowa State and maybe Missouri? Because I just feel like they are more, I guess, geographically relevant.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if you pick up Iowa State, you get a nice rivalry with Iowa there. I just think it would be much better. I don't understand. I do understand. It's all about money, but Rutgers and Maryland being in the Big Ten, I just think it's
needless
retarded.
to say, their start to their time playing football in the Big Ten has been like, okay, chalk up a victory for everybody.
Right. Well, everybody but Michigan.
Good stuff. So your thought is that mega conferences will be good and will actually happen.
I do. I believe that.
Any teams that you want to see in the Big Ten?
Well, Notre Dame, of course, just because geographical relevance. On top of it, they're a storied program, and they have great rivalries with Michigan, Michigan State. They've got a rivalry with Ohio State. They've got a rivalry with, I believe, Purdue. So I think they're great. I like Notre Dame. I seen in this article that we found that Cincinnati would be great because that way you get a nice inner city or an interstate rivalry going with Ohio State, so you can maybe try to force that. Plus, they're a good program. I do want to boot out Maryland and Rutgers. I'd love to go get Missouri. I'd love to get Iowa State. I think they would be great fits. Maybe even go get Penn if you want to go get Penn, because you can sit there and match them up with Penn State, and you got a rivalry there, an inner state rivalry.
So do you see this happening short term, long term, or eventually never happen?
I see it happening within the next 7 to 10 years for sure. Just kind of the way we're building. If you look at what's going on, the Power 5 conferences in football, they are getting stronger. They basically hold all the cards, which is really unfair for, I guess, MAC schools and lesser caliber schools, because you don't have an option to sit there and play for a national championship. You don't have the option to make the big money that these other programs do. So I think what's going to happen is we're going to get to a place where we have the haves, which are the Power Fives, and the have-nots, which are the MACs and everybody else like the MACs. So within 5 to 10 years, it happens, and I think it's a great thing for football. I really do. I think it's going to be a great thing for football. What you have to do, though, is you have to weed out some of these bowl games. We've got, I think like 40-some bowl games. You had schools that didn't even have winning records playing in bowl games. And what's the purpose of rewarding them when you didn't even do your end of the bargain? You're supposed to be at least a 500 team, which I think is BS, to be able to go on the road and play in a bowl game. And just, there's just too many, and there's not enough good teams. So you sit there, you cut it all down, you do the Power 5, you do your mega conferences, and basically those are the ones that get a chance to go on and play for the national championship, and you set up some type of a playoff division. I would love to see a 16-team playoff. I think it'd be great.
Ooh, college football talk in May. Man, Jim Harbaugh, I'm kind of surprised. It's been like 3 weeks, and he hasn't had that much coverage. And now the satellite camps will ramp that up, especially if they go to Australia. The cost, my goodness, to go to Australia. Imagine, with all this talk going around, they don't care. Michigan's like, we're going to keep this train rolling. And what people have to realize is Jim Harbaugh will leave no stone unturned. He'll spend every last penny that's available to make Michigan a winner. And I kind of like that. He's a trailblazer. He's not a guy that's going to go with the status quo. He's going to look for the nooks and crannies in the rules and try to exploit them. He's a smart individual, and this is a guy that I believe will be successful at Michigan, because when someone thinks outside the box, is willing to do whatever he has to do in order to build a program, you just have to hope that he doesn't do something that's going to get the university in trouble, because he's pushing up to that line, not crossing it per se, but he is pushing up to that line with the crap that he's doing.
What I'd like to see is I'd like to see the Big Ten come out a little bit more united. I mean, you don't ever see Jim Delaney come out there and stand up for Michigan or the Big Ten. He basically gets ran over by the SEC. I'd love to see Mark D'Antonio come out, because what has to be good for the goose has to be good for the gander. So if Michigan's going to go and do all these satellite camps, this does help Mark D'Antonio, and it does help Michigan State out. You guys get to go do it too. Hop aboard the train and do it. Start recruiting. Start poaching these kids from SEC country, from Big 12 country, from Pac-12 country. Go get them. Go get the best athletes you can get. Make our conference that much better. Every time we play the SEC, I want to beat them into the ground. I want them to not want to ever see us ever in anything that we play. I want them to be terrified of us like schools are terrified of seeing Alabama. That's what I want. So what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander. I need to see Mark D'Antonio. I need to see all the coaches in the Big Ten, as well as our commissioner. Where is Jim Delaney? Honestly, where is he? Anybody know where he's at? I think he's on a respite somewhere. Need to come together, and you need to support each other and back each other. Stop all this infighting within the Big Ten Conference. It's ridiculous.
Ooh, my goodness. Another great podcast. I wish we could go 2, 3, 4 hours. We got a lot to talk about. We didn't even hit on the Lions in their initial rookie minicamp, but we got a lot to get to the next week for sure. Lots of great guests, lots of great sports talk, uncensored, unfiltered. That's what we try to do and bring here on the Detroit Sports Podcast, and especially on the longest running weekly episodic Detroit Sports Podcast, Doc and Jock, 144 episodes strong, and we're rolling right along, baby.
Dude, we pick them up, we put them down, we just lay them out. That's what we do.
Uninterrupted, baby, every single Thursday since September 2013. Absolutely awesome, brother. Lots of good stuff to get to. Next time we record, is Brad Ausmus the manager?
Yes.
Shit. All right, let's get out of here.
Absolutely.
For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John McAroon. We're getting the hell out of here.
Go Tigers.
He was really nice, so I could not say no.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.